So this is a really exciting one. Although you don't look very excited, do you, Banjo? We're going to be talking about how to actually draw gemstones. So we'll say goodbye from Banjo. Bye! Drawing gemstones in your design, I think, is something that you'll really enjoy doing. Now, if we're going to get really technical, we will start to look at how the facets, so the different surfaces of the stone, are cut and how to draw them. And I think that might be a little bit further down the line in your jewellery designer journey. So what we're going to focus on today is drawing all the different shapes, because not all gemstones are round. I've got a little crib sheet here where you can see there are squares, there are rectangles, there are heart shapes, there are ovals, and these are all kind of standard calibrations, so standard sizes. But when we're really having fun, we will get a stone in from our stone supplier that just is unusual. It might be a really crazy size and crazy shape, and we still need to be able to draw that. There is a downloadable sheet I've done. So again, these are free off our website, just download it. And this one is 4 pages. And to start off, I would like you just to try drawing a circle, an oval, a square, and a rectangle. And just different variations of that, but keeping them as uniform and as tidy as possible. And do you know what a rectangular cut stone is called?
It says here it's called a baguette.
A baguette. I don't know why, but a rectangular shaped stone is called a baguette, and they're very often put, say for example, you might have an oval stone in the middle, and you might then have some baguettes each side, and I always have a little giggle to myself when I say baguette. So I'll just do a few examples for you. I'm drawing a circle. Now ovals can be short and fat and long and thin. And we're always generally aiming to get something that's the nice balance. I will draw you a long thin one so you see what I mean. And sometimes that works. Say for example you're doing a daisy design, you might want a round stone in the middle with quite long thin oval cuts stones going around it for petals. And then some ovals are so fat they almost are round and they look like they were trying to be round but didn't quite make it. That's what I mean. So quite a nicely proportioned oval, a longer thinner oval and a shorter fatter oval. Now with diamonds, when they're square, do you know what they're called, sweetheart?
No.
They're called princess cuts. And it's very rare, even with very well cut princess cuts, for them to be perfectly square. So it might measure 4.2 millimeters one way and 4.3 millimeters the other way. And again, we might rotate it so that it looks right depending on what the design is. Really nice. And a baguette is just a rectangle. And a lot of the time in designs, you will be drawing those shapes quite little. They might be in the shoulders of a ring, or like in this ring, for example, you're drawing lots of tiny little circles. Cool, so they're the kind of some of the standard shapes. And then on the back of that sheet, I have asked you to see if you can draw an emerald cut, a marquise cut, and a cushion cut, and I've given you examples. So basically an emerald cut is a rectangle with the corners cut off. And because of the molecular structure of emeralds, and because they're quite brittle, that emerald cut with fewer facets, so fewer surfaces than a diamond, like this is a normal brilliant cut, is a bit safer. And I will draw the facets on there. I'm not amazing at doing this. I think it's something like that. So it's a rectangle with the corners cut off, and those corners you quite often put the claws if they're in a claw setting like that. Lots of people call a marquise shape a boat or an eye shape, and just like with an oval, They can be long and thin and shorter and fatter, like that.
Bit of pointy oval.
Yes. And one of my favourites is a cushion shape. So in the old days when TVs used to be square, they were a bit like this. It's like a square with soft edges. And very popular at the moment is sort of vintage Art Deco designs. Emerald cuts work really nicely for people that like quite straight lines, and the cushion cut works really nicely for people that like softer lines. You gonna have a go?
I will.
I'm going to finish that one there so that you can have a practice, and I'm going to start another tutorial to go on to the next sheet because it's quite an involved one. We're starting to really get into drawing things like clusterings and designs that have got multiple stones in them. So I'll see you in a minute.